Sure.
Hey, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Extra Features Podcast. Tonight I have a fabulous guest who's just here by himself, luckily, even though I thought he brought somebody else originally. Jeff Frumess.
Hey, Simon, what's going on?
Good, I got it right. Perfect. His film, Gouge Away. I don't know where you can find it. You guys didn't tell me.
Sorry, say that again.
Where do I find your film, Gouge Away?
Where are we from? Like, where am I
No,
from?
where do you guys watch it? Where can people see this
Oh,
great
it's not
movie?
available yet. It's going to be on Blu-ray, and eventually it'll be on YouTube, and it'll be, I don't know, it'll be in some streaming outlets, whatever's on Film Hub, I
Okay,
hope.
guys, so you're out of luck. You're just gonna have to enjoy the interview and go check his other work, but we'll tell you all about that at the end of the show.
Sure.
I got a question. Would you like to start at the end questions I have about the credits, or do you want to start at the beginning of the film? I'll give
We
you
can
both
you
options.
you are this is as to quote Nicolas Cage in the movie Con Air when he's talking to John Malkovich, this is your barbecue and it tastes good. So whatever you what
Okay, I wanted, guys, you got to stay. I want to tell everybody when you watch this, stay for the end credits. It is a
yeah.
complete scroll of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I should have paused and kept taking notes on how much stuff is in this end credits, but I did pull the one thing I wanted to talk about the most.
I
Why?
forgot what was in the end credits. I don't even remember when you just said that just now. You were and I made the movie. I edited the movie. I completely forgot about the end credits.
Okay, well, there's only one thing I do really was interested in. You said special
Sure.
thanks to the White Plains security guards.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to know that story because that sounds like a story right
So the
there.
story actually, now that you've watched the movie, and I know that you are a busy man, Simon, and you probably, you got a list of people to interview and whatnot, but
Nope, not this
the
week, just you.
oh, well, the entire story is actually detailed in the so there's a documentary that kind of is about the making of this entire film, and it details it's not it's I mean it's a nothing burger. It's just we were in the Galleria Mall and we were trying to steal the shot in the mall. We didn't have a
Right.
permit. And they just made it was just not they just made it difficult. They were just walking around, trying to keep us from doing our thing. They were cock blocking us.
Is there another mall just north of the Galleria, if I remember correctly? I can't remember what it's called.
In White Plains, there's the Galleria, there's the Westchester Mall, and there used to be. So we shot that when they're running around. That's the White Plains Mall from the 70s. That was demolished. It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
And so it was kind of amazing. That was actually my last time in that mall. And I was like filming in there. And I was like, oh my God, this is probably the last time I'm going to be in the mall. And the mall was wiped out. And so, if you want a quick shot of Bob's sports page bar or whatever as they're running in, it's like that might be one of the only documentations of it in the world. Who knows?
You know what? I'm thinking of the Galleria Mall in Amherst because that's where I
Okay.
know.
Well, there's
That's the
lots of
ones that,
gallerias. That's a very common
oh,
vernacular.
only in the States. You don't get them in Canada. They don't exist. We don't have a
Oh,
Galleria.
you don't have any gallerias up there?
I don't think so. If we do, I've never been to it.
Strange. I'm gonna have to Google. All right, while you're talking, I'm gonna Google
Okay.
gallerias in Canada because I'm curious now. Go ahead.
Let's start at the beginning. You use a lot of filters or lights at the opening shot. It's a
Yeah.
red touch. I'm trying to figure out, was that lighting? Was that a CGI effect? Was that a color touch?
You know
Because
what that
you,
was?
yes, I want to know what that was because you play with this a lot.
It was this light right here with a pink gel on it. And that was it.
Ah, interesting. I,
That
I
was
find
it.
it fascinating, independent filmmakers. And let's get into your work a lot. You play with lights and color. I say 24/7. I don't think you stop.
First of all, thank you for appreciating that. I just want to say, Simon, I really appreciate that you like recognize that you observe that. Hold on, let me push this back. My first feature, I'm so sorry, I'm futzing with this light over here. That's what filmmakers do. They futz with lights. My
You
first
do.
my first feature I shot in black and white because I am not I am a DP. I'm a cinematographer by necessity. I make no budget, micro budget films, and I'm like, I don't have the resources to hire someone who deserves the wage that they probably do to do the incredible work that they do. And so the producer guy I was working with at the time, not Richard, another guy, he said, "Why don't you shoot the movie?" And I said, "I can't shoot the movie. I'm a videographer, but that's a whole different thing. Run and gun documentarian work is not the same as, trying to make something like pure cinema, cinematic, filmic, the pretentious and art house avant-garde." And so what I did was my first feature, I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot it, which made things a lot more complicated and made things also a lot more simpler. But I'm going to shoot in black and white because I don't know jack shit about. Can I curse on here?
Of course you can.
I don't know jack shit about color grading or color correction. And I'm an editor, but I know when it comes to doing this stuff, I would rather. This is my first time making a feature, Romeo's Distress, which you can watch on YouTube for free right now. I'm just going to shoot it. I'm going to actually shoot it in the monochrome profile. So there is no there's no color version of the movie at all. We actually lit for black and white and we shot in black and white. And so when I was making the second film, which has a very complicated, what you just watched, Gouge Away, which has a very complicated production history that's detailed in Kuyashi Gonzo, Blood Visions and Chaos Magic, a documentary that you can also watch for free on my YouTube channel, frumess.com. Sorry, YouTube /.frumess. Um, I I was like, I'm gonna shoot. Not only am I gonna shoot in color, but I'm gonna get one of those Black Magic camera bodies that are really cheap, the pocket 4K camera. I'm gonna teach myself DaVinci Pro, and I am just going to and boy, did I it was a crash course in falling flat on my ass. And so what I ended up doing was, in the re to answer your question so long-windedly,
No, I
I
love it.
started I started to oversaturate
Okay.
the scenes with lots of light. I even there's a clip of me in the behind the scenes that we put in Kuyashi Gonzo. When in doubt, when you don't know what you're doing, just go Suspiria. Meaning, just kind of like the way my background is right now. Just drench everything in color. It's going to look cool. It's going to look like this really intentional choice, and then you figure out how to pull that color out of the raw video in post production, and that's what I did.
Now, I mean, throughout the film, you're playing with this constantly.
Yeah.
And as somebody like me that loves this stuff, I mean, I did find it a bit distracting. Not saying it was bad. It's
Okay.
just I pulled me out a bit at times, but maybe that's
Okay.
what was your plan because I am supposed to be on a psychedelic trip. So maybe that was your plan. I'll
No,
totally
you're
give it
the
to you if it
audience.
was.
No, listen, you're the audience. And so however you interpret, if it was distracting, then it was distracting. That is your valid viewer experience. And I'm not here to explain or negate or whatever. That was your experience. That was your experience. And so it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't my intention, but like
Well, that's what I'm asking.
but that's interesting to hear. It's very interesting to hear that perspective from someone who's watched the movie. So that's fascinating to me.
Okay, let's back that. What do people tell you they get out of the movie then? I mean, it's a different kind of film.
What
It's got a lot going on.
people who've seen this movie are like, what the fuck were you like? What the fuck were you thinking? And like, what is that? Like, what the hell is going on? And I'll tell you what's going on. The movie Gouge Away is actually a sequel to another movie.
Oh,
Yeah. So here's all right. Ready? I'm about to blow your mind real quick.
I'm
Maybe
ready.
I won't. Maybe I won't blow your mind. Maybe you'll
Do
be
it.
all right. Ready? So, in March of 2020, I took a couple $1,000 and I set out to shoot a film called Wash Away, and I shot 20% of that movie. All the scenes with Stanley. Remember the guy Stanley in the movie? The guy at the beginning. The guy who's
Yes,
yeah, Stanley.
yes, yes, yes.
All that stuff, that was Stanley. Wash Away. Shot 20% of that movie the weekend of March 9th, 2020, or March 8th. So the next week, the entire world shut down because
Yeah,
of
I go,
COVID.
it's like COVID when you're shooting.
Right. Well, it literally
Pre-COVID by a
COVID
week.
happened. It literally happened the next week. So that basically killed the movie for 18 months. And I was like, I don't
Oh,
know. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't know how to even. I gave up on the movie. That was the end of it. I was like, this sucks. I have 20. I love the way the footage turned out, all that color that you're just seeing, and I was like, wow, I'm really proud of this because, as I said, I'd come from a. I was outside of my comfort zone of shooting at this point in black and white. And I'm like, this sucks. And, what am I going to do? And then one day I was in the shower. I kept thinking about it. It was like a math problem to solve. Like,
It
how do
is.
I, how do I figure this out? And I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna go do something else. I started doing YouTube and all this other stuff. And then I was in the shower and it was like lightning struck, and I suddenly realized that I could not finish the story of Wash Away for numerous reasons that I am not going to get into here. And like I said, if you're really interested and you want to hear more about it, go watch Koyashi Gonzo. That'll tell you the whole story. I don't need to repeat it here. But it was not going to get finished. But I realized that because I could never finish the story of Wash Away, but what if I told the sequel to Wash Away? What happens at the very end of Wash Away and start a new story there, and then take all of the Wash Away footage and create a Who Killed Laura Palmer, from
Yes.
Twin Peaks? Who killed Stanley? Why did Stanley die? What happened to him with the with the, sucking the nitrous? The nitrous was the tiniest little detail in Wash Away. It wasn't a part of the story at all. It was just a gag that I was really like obsessed with. And I took that and I made the entire plot around what is this mysterious gas that people are inhaling. And then I created this new character who was originally that character, Tony, the violent guy who goes around killing people. He was just he was originally the guy that the movie within the movie for this movie within the movie called Bad Nana. That's who the get Nana, Bad Nana, the character.
Yes.
She was a cameo. That's my grandmother. That
Oh,
and she that was her cameo right before she died. That was her cameo in the movie. And I had him, he was like my assistant helper guy. And I was like, hey, Matt, why don't you become the star now? And we're gonna take that character in that movie within the movie. And he's like the disciple of this guy Stanley, who's a yoga master. And you have to find out what happened to Stanley, just like Laura Palmer style.
yes.
And so he goes on this, as you see, he goes through the levels of bosses, and goes after the white hot dog, and then finally Lord Fungus, affectionately named after my small son named Lord Fungus. And so I built the sequel movie around the original footage of the dead movie that I could no longer make. And so Gouge Away actually begins with what would have been the ending of Wash Away. So it's a sequel to a movie that does not exist.
I know I'm not going to discuss the first film, but I do have, can I ask one question?
You can ask a million questions. Ask
What
anything.
happened to the lead of the first movie then? Because he's only in this movie in obviously background now.
So so Jacob, who played Stanley, came back for one day, the final shooting day of Gouge Away, because we were having our premiere at the Alamo Draft House in Winchester, Virginia, for the Genre Blast Film Festival, and I had 6 weeks to get the movie finished. And it was a race against time. So this movie went from being a dead movie to suddenly having its world premiere at the Alamo Draft House, my favorite movie theater in the whole wide world. So I'm like, and this is all detailed again in Kuyashi Gonzo. But basically, I called him up. I was like, "Hey, man, we're keeping on trucking on with the movie," because he told me part of the reason why I said the movie would never Wash Away was dead. I called him up months into COVID, just trying to figure out, because look, COVID was insane, and there were much bigger things in the world. People were dying. It was crazy. It was hard to think about a movie. It was hard to think about doing anything artistic at that time. But after some time had passed and things had kind of like, sort of, I wouldn't say stabilized, not the right word, but we started to get used to being in the COVID world that we were in. I called them up and I was like, I was just trying to explore, because at the end of the day, all the PPP and all that stuff, I mean, that's 30% of your budget if you want to be safe and do things right. And I believe firmly in safety to humans, safety to animals, make a good damn movie. The Lloyd Kaufman rules for making a movie. Safety first. So I called him up. I was like, what is your comfort level with this? If we were like just exploring, like not insisting, not saying, hey, we got to do this. Just, hey, where are you at right now? And he told me in no uncertain terms, I'm not doing anything until there's a vaccine. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I mean, that makes sense. And I can appreciate that. And what else do I do? How else do I continue? Again, no budget, micro budget filmmaker made this film for a couple $1,000s. What am I going to do? So that was one of the many death nails in the film. And when the movie came back as Gouge Away, I called him up, and this was, much later now, and everybody had been vaccinated, and the world was opening back up again. And I said, hey, I need you, in order to marry this all together, I need to get one scene of you with Matt as Tony the Stamper doing the meditation thing. So the very last thing we ever filmed was those two guys together.
Okay.
And I married that. That to me kind of helped to solidify the past footage with the footage that we were
Oh
shooting
yeah.
around it, Larry Cohen style. And so he came back for one day and in a sort of like a dream sequence. It didn't really make sense. His facial hair, none of this movie really makes sense. I mean, you just gotta, you roll with it. You roll with the punches. So
I think as you watch the movie, I would suggest dropping something, smoking something, and you'll get along with the movie
yeah.
just fine. I
Okay.
think it'll flow nicely for you. The lights will
Yeah.
help out a lot,
Uh-huh.
and go with that. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Let's move on. Uncle Move, MOU, whipped cream, question mark.
Uncle Moose.
Moves, okay.
Yeah, Uncle Moose. It'll take you to the moon. Yeah.
What is it?
It's just a made up, I like putting fake brands in my movies. I
No,
have
that was fine. I want to know what the concoction is. Is it whipped cream?
It's just whipped cream.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 for sure. It's right. The thing you can't see it. It's right off screen, right over here. Hold on 1 second. I got the prop is right
Oh,
here.
he's going to get the prop.
Hold on. Ah,
I'm making him work today. I made him get a light prop. Now he's got
that's
Uncle
okay.
Moose.
I have all the stuff right here. Why wouldn't I show it to you?
Here we go, guys. I guess this has to go up YouTube now. See the work I have to do.
Ah,
Guys,
I'm sorry.
it's all
If
good.
the prop is literally right outside of frame, how could I not reach out, forget it? So this is what you see in the
Yes.
movie. Yeah,
So it is. Yeah.
Uncle.
I want. So what's this is what I want to
That's
discuss. That
Nicholas. That's
label.
Nicholas Cage. Yeah,
How do you do the label?
I photoshopped it. So I took a whipped cream. Okay, here's what I did. So as you can see, I drilled a hole in the bottom. I
Okay.
then I first I stripped the thing down. I got all the whipped cream out of it. I drilled a hole in the bottom and I poured hot water into it just to get all the milk out or whatever. Then what I did was I photoshopped the label to the exact measurements, and you'll notice it's got the Twin Peaks chevron. It's the Black Lodge pattern, and this is fake nutrition facts. I put those over there. You have some fake nutrition facts, and then I used the meme of Nicolas Cage from the movie Vampire's Kiss with Casper the Ghost body, and created a mascot for a whipped cream topping called Uncle Moose. And you'll see it says Uncle Moose will take you to the moon, and it's also it's caffeinated.
Oh, there you
And
go.
yeah, I just like making strange, weird props. And so what we would do is I had some real whipped cream cans and we had some, other labels. And this was the hero can. And I sprayed it with a nice matte finish to get it all shiny and chrome. So that way it kind of looks a little bit more official. And so this is what you see on the screen. But then when he's actually doing the whipped cream, we use a real can and he can actually. So we probably had 3 to 4 cans of Uncle Moose.
There. See, you didn't expect to get that question today, did you?
No.
Okay, I'm not going to let it go. The mask. We got to go. Did you have one? I think you had more than one.
Which mask?
The mask is walking around. It's a white mask.
Oh,
Black. That's got to be nearby. I don't think. Yes, there's only one.
yeah, this mask. Yeah, there's only one of them. So this
Oh,
mask originally, this was like the centerpiece of that movie Wash Away. It was about the mask is supposed to be like an Oedipus mask, and if you're familiar with the Greek tragedy of Oedipus, is not just kind of the thematic stuff from Wash Away is the idea of like a self-fulfilling prophecy and realizing who you really are and gouging out your eyeballs. That's why Stanley gouges out his eyeballs, because he, you know, learns the truth and has actual sight of who he is. And once he knows who he really is, he wants to scoop out his eyes. And that didn't really make sense with the new plot that I had concocted. So I had to kind of figure that out. But yeah, so the mask I made out of, that's just like all like clay on the inside. I sculpted this myself. And production design is my favorite part of making movies. I love like everything that you see back here. These are all props from my new film that I'm working on right now called My Shadow. This is a giant tombstone from my, you can't see the giant, that's a giant tombstone that I built for my first film, Romeo's Distress. I build props. So this, I put Mod Podge to seal it in. So it's really hard. And you'll notice the drafts of the script, early
Yeah,
drafts of the actual script
I
for
do
Wash
see.
Away, I used for paper mache. So it's really made from Wash Away. It's a very and it's just a great, it's a creepy mask. And I was like, the footage, that footage, I was like, again, Gouge Away was an exercise in like Larry Cohen filmmaking. I mean, anybody who's familiar with the genius director Larry Cohen, who would take a bad situation and figure out how to, transform whatever footage he had into something else. And for me, I'm like, well, okay, so how does this? And I had to like figure out retroactively, how do these different pieces fit together, because their original meanings don't mean anything anymore in the new story that I'm telling. So I'm like, well, what about this footage of him dancing with the mask? And I was like, well, his protege huffs some of the that he huffs some EHE, right? It's EHE. He's huffing the EHE gas, and that causes him to see Stanley in his dark shadow dancing mode. And I called up my friend Kevin and I was like, "Can you write something that sounds like Danzig's Black Acid Devil?" And he was going to go on tour with Green Jello. He's in Green Jello, that band that has like 1,000 members in it, Three Little Pigs. And he was like, "Yeah,
You're
let me
talking
see what
about
I can."
Jello Biafra?
No, no, no. Green Jello is a band by Green Jello is a novelty band from the '90s. They had a hit called the Three Little Pigs. Go check out that music video. It's
I'm
insane.
gonna have to. Maybe I've seen it. I
You're
just don't
you
remember it.
definitely have, little pig, let
Yes.
me in. Yeah,
Yes.
that's Green Jello. He's one of the
Okay.
1,000 members of Green Jello. And I was like, dude, can you write me a track that sounds like Danzig? And can you do it in like 24 hours? And he like did. And it was amazing. And so we put that in the shadow dance sequence.
Okay. I'm gonna tell well, two things from what you just talked about, which are on my notes anyway. Writing with a partner. I was at.
Yeah, that was an interesting situation. So yeah, Matt helped out with a few of the story elements, and then I went off and I wrote the script, some new script pages. But it was an interesting process. Matt is a very smart, nice, fun, creative guy. And I'm I never expected that we would go in any of the directions that we went in with Gouge Away. I was just like, we it just that movie Wash Away was a completely different tone. It was a completely different film. It was about very sort of serious psychotronic like genre filmmaking. And this movie Gouge Away was just goofy and crazy and weird and bizarre, which is my favorite stuff to do. And I really think that this new one that I'm making, My Shadow, will really like takes that to the next level in a good way.
Okay. You brought up music, which I want to discuss. I love the
Sure.
music in your film. It's
Thank
fun.
you.
It's stuff I don't normally hear. It looks like you
Thank
were
you.
having fun. Like, even if some of the scenes, like whatever's going on, I didn't care. I love the music. Like, especially near
Amazing.
the end, that song at the end, just I love that song at the end.
Which one, in the credits or at the end when he's fighting
The
Lord
the
Fungus?
the song and fight at the end.
So that's by a band called Wolfface, and they're shout out to Wolfface. They're in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Wolfface also contributed music to my first film, Romeo's Distress. They're a great band. Check out their record, still son of a bitch, and that record that I took music from for Gouge Away is still golden. We put a couple of songs on there, and it's funny, the entire end of that movie was actually the song wrote the ending of that movie. I visualized so much, and I blocked out and visualized so much of what happens at the end of that movie with that song. The song beats then like informed what the edit was going to be. So
Interesting.
yeah, great band, great song. I think that song's called Whiskey and Wolf Blood. You could listen to it on Spotify.
How do you choose your songs? So, I mean, I would say all these tracks are solid. Like, I
Thank
would
you.
listen to all this stuff. I mean, you must have a great either library of music or friends who recommend music, or you just find it.
Well, I have friends who are in bands. I consider the guys in Wolfface to be friends, and so they gave me some music. And Kevin is a friend, and he wrote that thing. And then, so you know that ukulele piece
Yes.
that you heard a bunch of times, that was the same. So what I did for that was I took the ukulele piece, I just kept slowing it down. As the story
Oh,
beats progressed, I just made it slower and slower. At first it was 100%, then I went down to 75%, then 50%, then 25%. As Stanley starts to lose his mind and go crazier and crazier, I just slowed down the song. So the song it turns into a motif that kind of sort of represent his madness and whatnot. And I was just very it was a real discovery. I was like, wait a minute, you can take something that's really happy and slow it down and it sounds really macabre. And then the funeral music that you hear, the dun 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 dun, whatever it is, that's just a funeral march. And that was I'd seen the Batman, the one, the Matt Reeves Batman movie, and his Batman motif is really very similar to the funeral march. I was like, that's so good. I was like, I just gotta stick that in there somewhere. And everything that you see in this movie is inspired by some other filmmaker or some other movie. Like the opening credit thing is literally taken from Return of the Living Dead. And when the lights go out, the blackout scene, that's from Edgar Wright's first film called A Fistful of Fingers.
which
And
I've never seen.
Fistful of Fingers, he had a movie that was like, it was like 69 minutes and he needed it to be like 72 for like running length or whatever. And he had no more money. And so he's like, well, let's just do an entire scene in the dark. And so for us, I wanted this very elaborate scene where we see how Tony the Stamper, why he's such a killer, where he just beats the crap. So Matt was able to, Matt called up three of his friends. I was like, can you guys get over here to this place, which was this walk up that was just this cruddy walk up that my friend, the guy, the Greg, who plays Uncle Greggy, who died. He also died. We had three people who died during the production of this film. Uh, Uncle Elmo died. My Nana died, and Greg Anderson all passed away. Uh, and Greg, before he died about a month after we had shot that, and he had a heart attack right there in that
Oh,
apartment where he where his death scene happens is where he died a month later. Insane to imagine, to think. He that So what happened was we had those three guys that you see come running up the stairs with the baseball bat, the heavy hitters or whatever, and we were going to try and choreograph this elaborate knife fight where he just wipes the floor with these goons. And it came the day to shoot, and as I said, I'm running the sound and I'm running the camera, so it's like, and I'm just like, we got to simplify this. I don't know how to do this. We don't have time. We have so much other stuff we have to shoot. What are we going to do? And then I thought in my head, I said, wait a minute, wait a minute. All right, you're just going to turn off the lights and we'll hear the fight. We're not going to see the fight. We're going to hear the fight. You just imagine, and then we'll cut to you covered in blood coming down the stairs, and we'll realize that you were just destroyed everybody, and like, and maybe that'll be even funnier, or that'll be more interesting than seeing some really shitty fighting. Just cut away, less is more. So I had him turn out the lights, and then we just sort of, and that sequence is 60 seconds and I wish it was 30. And that's a mistake. I've done the mix now. I'm not going back. I'm not chopping it. I
No,
can't.
definitely
It's baked
not.
in.
I
It's
could see
baked in.
that.
I'm done. I'm done. The movie's done. But the initially I thought, oh, 60 seconds will be funny. And it played fine at 60 seconds, but upon reviewing the mix several times, it's like, you know what? That could have been 30 seconds. And that's something you should always consider, when you're being self-indulgent and you're making movies. Whatever you think isn't too much, cut that in half, and then that'll be more acceptable.
Okay, I'll give you an option: location or my chapter question.
Say what?
Okay, why the chapters? Is
Oh, why the chapters? Because the chapters served a really important purpose, and that was, trying to do a Quentin Tarantino sort of thing.
that's what I figured.
But they served a purpose because it allowed to sort of sew together this material that was very disjointed, right? We're marrying a sequel to a movie that doesn't exist, and I thought, what better way to sort of, like establish things expositionally than by like sort of having this preamble at the beginning of each chapter. So every chapter informs whatever comes after it. The lonely spaghetti dinner of Uncle Elmo. He wants Tony, hey, let's have spaghetti dinner. It's been a long time since we've, you know, spoken and whatnot. And Tony's just there to get his guns, which he doesn't even end up using. He just wanted to get his guns from Uncle Elmo. And
Nope, he
Uncle
does
Elmo's
not.
chatting away. And he says, Uncle Elmo, I gotta go. And so it turns out Uncle Elmo's gonna have his lonely spaghetti dinner. So that's why that chapter is that, just every chapter informs what we're about to see. The hunt for the white hot dog, which is, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, hunt for the Dark Knight, hunt for the white hot dog. Um, that stuff like that. And I just figured it kind of worked that way. Everything was sort of like sequenced and segmented. It flowed better than if it was just a straight thing. It kind of lets you refresh your palate after something that you've just seen.
Okay, let's go over the locations quickly. Jojo location.
So 99% of this movie was actually shot in the house that I'm doing this from. All of the,
That's what I was wondering.
not only that, but multiple scenes take place in the exact same space. And I just kept reset dressing everything.
I was
So
about to ask you that. I haven't. Is this the same? One of the rooms I was convinced it was the same place, but I'm like, there's no way this is.
100%. It's all the
Okay,
same
so it's
place.
not just
Literally,
my
like,
brain playing tricks.
no, no, I just kept set dressing, and it was something I had done on my first film too. But the thing is, it's easier to mask that in black and white. It's a little harder to do it when everything's in color. But at the end of the day, if you're shooting something against a blank white wall, what you can just, if you use an establishing exterior and then you cut to something interior, you can create a, an illusion of this is a place. So, for instance, the bird nest where the final showdown takes place and everything, that's like three different locations all fused into one.
Really?
Yeah, that's a place in Brooklyn. That's upstairs and downstairs. So when they're doing the reverse shot, the reverse shot is downstairs. The other side of the shot is upstairs, and I just married everything together. And using Cohen brothers like to do like medium close-up shots, like directly straight down the barrel of the camera. I just kept doing that. I just kept going back and forth, back and forth. And for my new film, for my latest trick, I have the guy who plays the Lord Fungus and Whiskers, the same guy. Um, he's playing two characters in scenes. We shot all of one side, now we're shooting the other side, and he's basically playing against himself, and we're doing it, and it's going to be really crazy in black and white.